The first time Amora saw him, he was crouched beside the rusty tap at the back of the compound, fighting with the handle like it had personally offended him. He was dressed in worn jeans and a faded Arsenal jersey, his feet in cracked bathroom slippers, his brows furrowed in frustration. "You have to twist it twice, then pull it up a little before turning," Amora said, balancing her bucket on her hip. He looked up, startled. Then he nodded and did as she instructed. Water gushed out like magic. "Thanks," he said. His voice was low, unsure. She smiled politely. "You're new here." He nodded again. "Just moved into room 9. Corper." Amora had seen the NYSC crested vest drying on the line earlier. So he was one of the new batch posted to Lagos. He didn't offer a name, and she didn't ask. Lagos had taught her that silence was safer. But that night, as she sat on the corridor shelling groundnuts for her evening pap, she caught him slipping out of the compound with a small black backpack. He returned 2 hours later with nothing in his hands and a stain on his shirt that looked like he had been in a fight with a Suya man's pepper. She noticed everything. She always did. Over the next few weeks, Amora grew used to his quiet presence. He kept mostly to himself, rarely interacted with the other tenants, and always came back late. He didn't cook, didn't join compound meetings, and never fetched more than 1 bucket of water at a time. But he always greeted her. Always. "Good morning." "Good evening." Sometimes, just a nod if words failed. She called him Corper in her head. It seemed to suit him. And although they never had a proper conversation, she started saving part of her dinner for him, just in case. A ladle of beans. Half a wrap of eba. A spoonful of rice. She would knock gently on his door and leave it by the side if he didn't respond. Sometimes, she found the plate washed and placed at her doorstep the next morning. No words. Just clean gratitude. He intrigued her. Not in the romantic way, at least not at first. It was more like a puzzle. He was too quiet. Too controlled. And he carried himself with a kind of quiet pride that didn't fit his worn slippers. One evening, when the landlord came to shout about unpaid light bills, the corper stepped out and handed the man 10,000 naira without blinking. Nobody else had that kind of spare change lying around. Something didn't add up. Amora worked at a printing press in Ojuelegba. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough to feed her and her younger brother, Ikenna, who stayed with her after their mother died 2 years ago. Every morning, she made akara to sell on the street before work. Her hands smelled of oil and onions, and her aprons were permanently stained, but she didn't mind. Survival first. One morning, she caught Corper watching her from his window as she fried. She waved. He nodded. Then he disappeared. 5 minutes later, he reappeared. "Do you have change for 1K? He asked. Pause. Like. Comment what you think is going on. And subscribe if you're ready for the twist. She blinked. "You want to buy akara?" He nodded, suddenly awkward. "Yeah. And maybe pap." That was the first time he sat on the bench beside her and ate. She offered him a plastic cup of pap, and 4 hot akara balls. He handed her 1,000 naira and told her to keep the change. She laughed and gave him more. From that day, it became routine. Every 2 days, he bought akara and pap from her. Sometimes, they sat in silence. Other times, they shared awkward small talk. His name was Nonso, she eventually learned. He was posted to teach in a public secondary school in Surulere. His students called him Ogre English because of his accent. "Did you study abroad?" she asked once, half joking. He didn't laugh. Just said, something like that. She left it alone. One Saturday morning, rain drenched the compound unexpectedly. Amora's washed clothes were still outside. She ran out barefoot to grab them, slipping slightly on the wet tiles. Before she could fall, strong arms caught her. It was Nonso. He held her firmly, then helped her gather her clothes. For the first time, she noticed the scar across his left wrist. Faint, but deep. That looks like a story, she said. He looked at her. Really looked. Then he smiled, small and sad. A long one. They sat under the corridor roof, waiting for the rain to stop. For once, he talked. He told her about his life in Abuja. How he once worked in a company that didn't value him. How he left everything behind, because he needed to start over. He didn't go into details, but Amora could feel the weight of what he wasn't saying. That evening, she told him about her mother's death. About raising Ikenna. About the time she almost dropped out of school, because there was no money. About how life always felt like a fight. They connected. Quietly. Naturally. Months passed. Their routine deepened. She fed him. He listened to her. Sometimes, he gave her extra cash for Ikenna's school books. Sometimes, he bought small gifts, bread, insecticide, detergent. The compound gossiped, but Amora didn't care. Nonso was kind. Respectful. And he never crossed boundaries. Then, one morning, everything changed. He was gone. Room 9 was empty. The landlord claimed he paid 3 months ahead, but left no forwarding address. His number didn't connect. Amora was shattered. It wasn't just about the food or the kindness. She missed his presence. His quiet nods. The way he made her feel seen. She cried. Then she buried it. Like she always did. Life moved on. A year later, the printing press closed down. Amora tried other jobs, selling bread, helping at a hair salon, even cleaning houses. Nothing lasted. Rent piled up. Ikenna fell sick, and hospital bills drained what little savings she had. She was at her lowest when she got a call from an unknown number. Hello. Amora. It's Nonso. She froze. Where are you? What happened? He sighed. I'm sorry. I had to leave suddenly. Family emergency. But I want to see you. Can you come to this address? She hesitated, then wrote it down. It was on the island. Banana Island. The cab dropped her at a high gate with uniformed security. She told them who she came to see. They radioed someone, then opened the gate. The house was massive. White walls, glass panels, a fountain in the middle. She felt like she had stepped into a movie. Nonso walked out of the house in a navy blue kaftan and designer slippers. He looked exactly the same, except he didn't. His posture was different. Confident. Commanding. You live here? She asked. He nodded. It's my house. She stared. But the compound. Room 9. The akara. The slippers. He smiled. I needed to disappear for a while. I didn't lie about being a corper. But I didn't tell you everything. He led her inside. The house was filled with art, books, warmth. Not cold wealth. Lived-in wealth. He was the owner of a fintech company. Sold it. Made billions. His cousin betrayed him, tried to take over the company. He fled to Lagos mainland to find clarity. And you, he said softly, You are the only real thing I found. Amora didn't know what to feel. Anger. Shock. Joy. She cried. He held her. Why me? She asked. There are women with makeup and long nails and English. He laughed. None of them gave me akara without asking for anything back. Over the next few weeks, she visited more. Ikenna joined. They laughed. They cooked together. It was surreal. But Amora never asked for money. Never begged. Even when she was broke, she remained proud. One day, he offered to pay for Ikenna's school abroad. She hesitated. I don't want you to feel like you owe me anything, he said. She smiled. I don't. But I'm learning to accept good things. He asked her to marry him on a quiet evening, over akara and pap. She laughed through her tears. On this same bench. He nodded. This is where I met the realest person I know. They married 6 months later. Small ceremony. Few guests. The compound heard the story and buzzed for weeks. Some called her lucky. Others called her wise. Amora didn't care. She had always seen something in Nonso, beyond the cracked slippers. And now, the world saw it too. Years later, Amora sat in the same compound, visiting an old neighbor. A young girl was fighting with the tap. She smiled and walked over. Twist it twice, then pull it up before turning. The girl looked up, startled. Then smiled. As water gushed out, Amora looked at the rusty pipes, the cracked floor, the echoes of her past. And she smiled. Because she knew where she came from. And she knew who she had become. And it all started with a bucket of water, and a plate of akara. Please subscribe, like and comment your thoughts on this story.